Hello YouTube friends, welcome to The Last Homely House. I wonder if you saw the last video that I made about this quilt that I'm making for my niece's baby, who's coming to visit soon. In this video, I have a go at tying a quilt. So keep watching and see how I get on. Okay, so I've sewn all of this together in that webbing way that I like. Now I did a video about that if you want to see a bit more about that one. It was the, which video was that? We'll leave a link to that one because I do show webbing in a more detailed way. But I stitched this all together and now I'm ironing it out. I love how small it is because it means I'll fit it on the table when I'm laying out the quilt sandwich. But I just wanted to say, where do all the threads come from? All I'm doing is ironing this and picking out threads. There's so many. I'm enjoying the stars, of course, but what I'm really enjoying is when these four colours come together. And I can see that actually I haven't been terribly accurate about ironing them, but when these four colours come together and make this lovely four patch here, it looks so cool. Now, I wonder if you saw when I was stitching this, I finished sewing it together and then I went all the way around the outside with another run of stitching just in the single layer. Now years ago when I took my first quilt to Kath, the long arm quilter, she said to me, "Oh, you haven't done the lap of honour." And I was a bit nonplussed. What did she mean by that? Once you've finished sewing your quilt, if you sew once all the way around the outside, it will catch all these little joins here so that they're not going to unravel while you're laying it out and quilting it before you get it bound. And I thought that was a very, very good tip and I've done it ever since. So it's had its lap of honour. You've finished your quilt and you've been round and enjoyed it in that final row of stitching. I'm very much enjoying this quilt. I had an idea while I was quilting it. Do you do this? Plan your next quilt while you're finishing this one. Well, I had an idea. What would the Wonky star look like if I used, if you remember back to the quilt I think of as the planets quilt, which was the circles, which was same coloured fabric made up of lots and lots of different scraps of those same colours. How would that be if I made the stars like that and did the backgrounds plain, or the stars plain and the backgrounds like that? Do you know, there are so many options, not just for this block, but for all sorts of quilting blocks. So many options. And that's what my mind goes to when I'm sewing this together, is what would it look like if we did this or this or this little variation. For now though, let's get back to today. Let's finish this quilt, shall we? Right, I think I've ironed it enough now. It looks pretty good. Yes, I do like the size of it because it will fit on my table when I'm laying it out. Yep, like that one. More threads, loads more threads. And I think, as I said in the last video about this quilt, I'm going to tie this quilt rather than hand quilt it. I love hand quilting. I really do enjoy it, but I've never properly tied a quilt before. So I'm going to have a go. I'm going to quilt it here in the middle of these little four patches here. I'm going to do a little tie of some sort. I don't know quite what yet. Anyway, that's that ironed out now. I'm going to clear the table and get ready to do the quilt sandwich. I'll tell you what though, before I do that, I'll iron the piece of fabric I've got for the backing, because that's right here. I don't know when I bought this piece of spotty fabric from the same range, but I've had it in my stash for years, and I think it's the perfect size for what I'm about to do. This is going to be a fantastically colourful quilt, because I've also got the fabric I'm going to use for the binding as well. More threads. Alright, I think that's, actually there's a big fold mark up the middle. I'll have another go at that, because this is a good chance to get all those fold marks out. So when I found this piece of backing, I have got a big pink piece of fabric, but bigger than I need, and I was going to use that, but then I found this and I was really pleased. Then I was thinking about what to use for the binding, and I wanted to stay with the same range of fabrics. Now, I'm mates with Kay Fawcett and Brandon Mabley, just on by meeting them at the Festival of Quilts and chatting to them on WhatsApp. And then last year in December, I did actually call by their studio and say hi to them there. It was lovely. They made me lunch. I had a really nice visit with them there. And so when I was looking at this quilt and thinking about the binding, I thought maybe I could use this for the binding if there was a little bit of it left over, or maybe I could do plain or scrappy. But then I dropped Brandon a line, and I showed him the quilt in progress. I said, what would you choose for the binding for this? And what they've chosen for the binding, I'm definitely going to go with it, because I think it absolutely works. It's this. So the quilt is going to have this black and white spot from the same range. It's going to have this black and white spot binding, very thin, around the outside. I think it's going to look wonderful. I really like how bold that looks. I know this is a quilt for a little baby, but I think she's a sophisticated baby, and I think she might enjoy this black and white border around her quilt. It was really kind of them to give me some time. They were actually in America when I was messaging them, and so they took a bit of time out from their day to help me out with my quilt dilemma. So thank you, guys. I liked it very much. Okay, I could stand here and iron this for hours, couldn't I? But I think that'll do. I'm going to clear the table now, because what's on the table is so much stuff for another quilt that I'm making. So I'll put all of that away now so that I can get this one. I can concentrate on just this one. Yes. Fabric everywhere. Okay, I've ironed out the backing, and it's the perfect size for the quilt, which is good news, because this is the year of use what you have, remember, and use what you have in the wadding department. I have this piece of wadding. It's longer than I need it to be, but it's exactly the right width. And I usually use wadding that's made up of 50-50 bamboo and cotton. I usually use that wadding because I've got a big bolt of that. But I have this piece of wadding left over, batting, wadding, same thing, which is made up of, a portion of this is made from recycled plastic bottles. And I got this a few years ago when I was making a commission quilt. And I bought this wadding especially for that quilt, and I had this bit left over. So I'm really pleased I'm going to be able to use it. And I've just been upstairs to have a look where I store all my bits and pieces. And this batting wadding caught my eye because it feels a bit bouncier than the cotton and bamboo, because that's a beautiful, lovely drape that one gives me. But this one's just got a bit more of a bounce to it, and I like it very much. So I'm using what I have. This works fine. I've smooshed it all out. And now this is square, so it doesn't matter which way round it goes. And it fits just about perfectly. It's a little tiny bit tight, but that'll be fine. Yeah, little tiny bit. I think that'll be absolutely fine. Usually I like to leave a bit more of a border, a bit of excess, but I haven't got the luxury of that with this one. because of the backing. It'll be okay though, she said with her fingers crossed. Now, I know there are some people who would spray base this at this time, but I like to pin. And so I'm going to pin this out with my curved quilting pins, which are here. I've told you the story about my curved quilting pins, haven't I? I have. I'll tell you again in case you're new here. My mum got some of these. She was an amazing quilter, and she just made hundreds of quilts in her life. And she invested in some of these curved quilting pins. And my dad, he was a very practical man, saw them, didn't say anything. He just took them all out to his workshop and straightened them all. And he said, "There, love, I've straightened all your pins." And she didn't say anything. She didn't say, "No, they're supposed to be that shape." She just ordered another packet. Now, I've decided how I'm going to tie this quilt. Do you remember I'm going to tie this one? And I've decided I'm going to put the ties in the middle of where these 4 2-inch squares meet together. I love where that junction is there, which means that I can confidently pin into the centre of each star. So I'm going to do that now. Pinned out now, all beautifully ready to quilt in some way, and it's a few days later for me. I've had a haircut, which makes me very happy, and I've also done quite a bit more research, and a lot of people in the comments on the last video told me about the quilt that Donna Jordan tied on her channel some years ago, and I have seen that video, so I watched it again. The way that her and her husband tie the quilt, and they tied many quilts. And so I found this wool, which is alpaca and wool blend, and in all sorts of beautiful colours. And so kind of like a little bit of a tribute, I think, to Donna, because we were all really sad, weren't we, to hear that she'd been taken from us, a quilting friend lost too soon. So I'm going to have a go. I've never done this before, and quilt this little quilt here with this beautiful colourful wool, and I'm going to quilt in the centre of these little squares. I think I might have said that that's what I was going to do. Now if I watched this video properly, and what I have to do, I have a needle that's I can fit the wool into, so it's quite a thick needle, and I'm going to go till I can feel the table, and then up again, and then it's quite tough to get the needle through with double thickness of wool, but it's absolutely fine. Okay, and then it's quite a simple technique. Let's move my wool across there. I'm just going to go across the quilt like this, across all of the junctions where these 4 lovely 2-inch squares come together. Okay, let's move those and that. And then, yeah, let's try this. I'll not make them too big. Now, I think what is going to be good about this is that although I tried really diligently to get the 4 corners to meet perfectly, some of them really do, but the odd one just doesn't. So this is going to cover that up. So let's keep going with this then and see how it works. Yeah, that's going okay so far. I did read a comment on the last video from someone who said that they tied a quilt, but they had to use pliers, on this point here to get the needle through. And just as I'm telling you that, it looks like I might need to use pliers as well. No, that one's come through okay. I just need to be a bit, what's the right word? A bit firm with it. Okay, so, and then we'll cut that there. And so what I've got now then, and I'll do all of them, the way that Donna showed me how to do this is I'm going to cut this here in the middle and then tie them off. And the other thing that they used was this stuff that's called fray check. And I'm going to put a little tiny dot of fray check in the middle of each of the knots so that they stay. I think that'll be a good thing to do. Okay, so I'm just going to carry on now. And in fact, look, I've got a short piece here. I can do, yeah, I can do those ones with this shorter piece. Okay then, see you back here in a moment. So on the last run now, the last diagonal, and as I'm going along, I'm taking out these pins. I don't need these pins anymore because this is, what is this, 5.5, 6 inches across, and this batting, this wadding needs to be 8 inches to keep it nice and secure inside. And so now I'm on the last little bit, and I cannot believe how quick this has been and why I've never thought to do this before. Because this is going to be, well, I've got to tie the knots and put the spray check on, then put it in the washing machine and put the binding on. So I have got a few more stages to do, but I can't believe how quick this has been. It's been unbelievable. And I think it's going to look lovely. So one more. It's been a bit tricky pulling these through, but that's okay because there aren't that many of them. So next then we'll tie these off and take the last of the pins out. I'm leaving the pins in around the outside until I get the binding on. Okay, but yeah, taking them out as I go. Okay then, so it's a very simple technique. I'll start from here, and I'm just going to cut that in the middle, and then this is a reef knot. Right over left and under, left over right and under, or a square knot. That's what I'm going to tie it with. Right over left and under, left over right and under, and pull it nice and tight. And then this little bit of spray check will keep that, I think, will keep that beautifully together. Okay then, so I haven't decided how long to leave the tails. I'll do them all and then I'll make that decision. Oh, messed that one up. Let's do that again. There you go. It's double this wool, which I think is going to be enough. Right over left and pull, left over right and pull. Okay, so I'll decide how big to cut those when we've done all of them. I love how these different colours come through on this wool. Right over left, left over right. It's the most colourful quilt I've made in a little while, this one. So my little granddaughter came to visit at the weekend. She's 5, little Agnes. And she saw this quilt on the design board and she looked at it for a couple of minutes and she said, "Grandma, do you make a quilt every day?" And I think it just sometimes feels like that, not every day. But with this method and this size, I can see how people can actually make loads and loads of quilts. My mum made quilts, so many quilts. She never tied a quilt, surprisingly. I never saw her do this. But she made a lot of quilts for Project Linus, a lot of baby quilts. I think she would have really liked this idea, especially as this wool will felt a little. So with washing, it'll the little bits of wool will felt a bit. One of the things I read was that you've got to be careful with little ones playing with these, that they don't come undone. I think we're taking every precautionary step to make sure that doesn't happen. Okay, got a few more of these. Oh, let me say something about these pins as well, these quilters, these quilting pins, because I had a comment that said, where did I get my quilting pins from? Because she'd never seen any this size, because they come in 2 sizes, and I've got the smaller size, which aren't much use for anything, but this size is perfect. Now here in the UK, I use well, quite a few different suppliers, but more and more, and almost exclusively, I used Cotton Patch. I met Nick when I was at the Festival of Quilts a couple of years ago, and whose business it is, and we got on like a house on fire. And he sells me all the fabric that I need for my kits that are in the shop, and he has everything you could think of to do with quilting. So somebody was asking about my green cutting mat, that was from him, and these quilting pins, the larger size, they were from him as well. Now I know that this is the year of use what you have, and so far I've used absolutely everything that I already had. I was very pleased that the backing was at the right size, but once I decided on the binding, I did have to buy a little bit of this black and white binding. I've made it now, and I did have to buy this. So it's the only thing I've bought for this quilt though, so I think that's okay. Right, where was I up to? I was up to here. Cut it off, tie it off, take the pin out. It's all very good. Last knot. And then a decision. How long to cut these? I want to cut them before I put this stuff on, because then I can leave it to dry without touching them again. So let's have a think. If we do it there, no, that's too long. Okay, there, that's perfect. I'm going to do it by eye. I don't think I need to measure them. I'm just going to do it by eye like that. That works fine. I'll do all of these. They look so pretty. Oh yeah, they look really good. Okay. Oh, that's it. Okay, now I've never done this before either. It's a lot of firsts in this quilt. Let's see. Oh, brand new lid. There we go. Okay. I'm not going to put too much on. Ah, right, that's it. Perfect. So this knot won't come undone, but I don't mind at all if the little tails fray a bit, because I think that'll look quite cool. Okay, so I'm just trimming these edges and take it over to the machine to put the binding on. The fray check's dry now. It's not, I thought it might be hard, but it's fine. So we'll bind it with this lovely black spotty binding. Okay, let's do that. I'm just on the last bit of binding now. I made this spotty binding 2.5 inches folded in half, so that's just a really nice narrow binding. And of all the fabrics and stuff for this quilt, I had to buy this, and I had to buy the black and white spot, but that was all. So I'm quite pleased with that. And next I'm going to sling this in the washing machine, and it's a beautiful sunny day, so I'll be able to get it outside to dry it. As I've been going round, I've been checking on these knots, and they all seem really good. None of them are coming undone. I think I've done the spray check spots a couple of times on each one, so that should be okay. And I'd be interested to see if that washing it softens them a little bit, or if they're always going to be just a little bit firm like that. So finish this bit of binding. I wonder what you think about the black and white binding on this quilt. I like it. It kind of frames it beautifully. When I asked my gurus, Cave and Brandon, Cave said that it would look like eyeliner around the quilt, and I think that's just such a lovely image. Okay, a couple of inches still to do. And I know I've said this before, but every single quilt that I bind, it always feels like it's got 5 sides, not 4. Because you feel as though you should be at the end and you're not. I'm using this Aurifil 12, I'm using Aurifil 50, which is what I sew with on my sewing machine and what I do all my hand stitching with, and it's in a colour 2600 it is, and I find that grey disappears into pretty much every colour you use, so I call it my disappearing grey. Nearly at the end. I have my disappearing grey 2600 50 weight cotton for sale in my little shop, and we always leave links to everything in the description below, so if you wanted to see the cotton that I'm talking about, you'll be able to see it there. Okay, I've caught up with myself now. Just do a few over stitches on a little knot. Okay, let's have a look at it. I like to bury the knot by just stitching into the wadding like that. There we go, as far as the needle will take me. So I'm interested to see that on the back these little marks are barely visible. I like the back. When I was stitching the binding on, I found one of my little Last Homely House labels. These are the labels I had made to put into the little bags that are in my kits, and so each person gets one of these little labels, and I have a few at home here, and so that one is just in the little corner there, which I like a lot, and that is done, ready for the wash. very cool. Well, with this glorious sunshine, that would be dry in an hour, and I'm pleased with how it turned out. It's the first time I've tied a quilt like that, but it won't be the last, and I've got all these ideas about how other Wonky Star blocks could come together. So that's this video finished now. I'm just enjoying the white butterflies flitting around the garden, and I'll see you next time here. Oh, there are bees as well on the perpetual cornflowers. It's very lovely in the garden. Anyway, thank you for watching very much indeed, and I will see you next time here at the Last Homely House. There's some videos over on the Last Homely Garden, which is I don't post there very often, but you could check that out. There'll be some new videos coming there soon, but there's always a video every couple of weeks on the Last Homely House channel. So thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up, click your notifications when you subscribe, and I will see you here next time. I'm going to sit and drink this tea and watch the bees and the butterflies all over my flowers. Glorious time of year. Orange tip butterfly.